Good evening. This is the Lion of Legend, and welcome back to The Kid at the Back. Let's go back in and find some of these scenes that we have yet to see. Alright, so we're gonna start in the library, because we're missing a lot of content with Soul, so I feel like this is gonna be another episode dedicated to him. Okay, so let's force him to give up his seat. Do I look like your little maid? Just move and give me back my seat. You angrily voiced out, growing more and more impatient with the male before you. However, he seems unbothered by your threats, his eyes half-lidded in boredom before going back to reading his novel. Okay, this guy is getting on my nerves. If he doesn't want to leave, then I'm not letting him then. You huffed in annoyance and moved around behind him. He did not utter a single word and kept his nose on his light novel, though he couldn't deny the fact that he is a bit curious about what you are planning. What shocked him next was you pulling on the chair, causing him to gasp as he wobbled on his seat. Steadying himself, he was prepared to reprimand you for your actions, but you cut him off once more. What are you? By settling yourself on top of his lap. He swore to whatever god looking down on him right now to take him. The book in his hand is threatening to slip off as all of his senses shut down, save for his eyes that remain focused on your back. His heartbeat quickens, cursing under his breath, while you continue on with your work as if he isn't there, and you, oh sweet little you, slightly turn your head, giving a quick glance, your lips turned upward as if mocking him, teasing him. It's driving him insane. You, however, went along with your task, ignoring him as if you weren't there, save for your ass literally on top of his lap. He looks around him, noticing a few glances from passing students, some rolling their eyes and some moving away, finding a different seat. The guy's face went red. The surrounding students were definitely interpreting this the wrong way. He returns his gaze back to you, who remains unbothered sitting on his lap and seemingly not noticing the weird glances. He eventually relaxes, though still a bit hesitant on placing his arm next to yours. With a free hand, he picks up the book he had and reads through its contents once more. A minute or two passed, and you felt him sigh before closing his book. He seems to be having a hard time concentrating on his novel. Not your problem, though. Seldom we find, says Solomon Don Dunce. He reads out, making you arch an eyebrow whilst trying to ignore him, still as you remain focused on your papers. Half an idea in the profoundest sonnet. Through all the flimsy things we see at once. Is he reading through your papers? More specifically, on the poem you chose? As easily as through a Naples bonnet. An Enigma by Edgar Allan Poe, huh? Not a bad choice. Now this got your attention. In all honesty, you just grabbed whatever book that your hand felt heavy and went along with it. You were lucky enough that it was a singular book filled with stories and poems about this author named Edgar Allan Poe. You went through the book's table of contents and the title caught your attention. Maybe it will have the same effect to your ignorant teacher as it did to you. But it seems like this talking chair of yours is taking an interest in it first. Not bearing to ignore him any longer, you speak up. It's the first thing I could find that looks interesting. Nothing much, as long as I've got something to write for my reports. That's fair. But did you know this poem is also a puzzle? This piqued your curiosity. A puzzle? He nods. Then, With a finger, he points at the first line of the poem, then on the second. Yes, a puzzle. This is one of the few works of his that I find quite charming. Looking at where his finger is pointing, you try to look for the puzzle he's speaking of, but despite reading through the sonnet carefully, you couldn't seem to find the puzzle he was talking about. He must be fucking with you. Trying one last time, you scanned the words. What's the answer? I don't know the answer. Alright, so I went ahead and tried to piece it together. I had to do a little bit of research. I don't know if I got this right. I couldn't see it. Is it some sort of riddle? About what? Would you like a hint? That would help me. Look at the first letter of the first line, then the second letter of the second line, and so on. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Okay, so if I go up in the chat, seldom we find S, half A, through R, as easily A. So I assumed it was Sarah, which is the answer I gave. He removes his fingers from the paper and now observes your facial features. Your brows are furrowed in full concentration now, a finger under your chin as you look at the letters based on the hints he gave you. What's the answer? Didn't I just give the answer? Let me save this. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, I think the actual word... What? Alright, hold on. Alright, we're just gonna move on. I give up. So, what's the answer? What? Didn't I... Sarah Anna Lewis? How the hell was I supposed to... Was that really in this? Oh, I misspelled the last name. Okay. But I don't think you could have gotten that from the dialogue here. Oh well. Maybe I'm crazy. It's a name? Yup. Someone that the author had close relations to. I see. Well, you tried. That's what matters. You look back on your paper, on the poem specifically, a newfound sense of respect for the sonnet after knowing its hidden meaning. This just adds to more content in your paper, and maybe it'll help you get an even higher grade for it. Maybe hitting the books isn't so bad. You lean back on the chair, nearly forgetting you're literally on someone's lap, causing you to accidentally press your back to his chest, making him jerk on his seat. This surprised you. You yelped and quickly stood up from the chair, turning to apologize to him. His previous relaxed posture is now back to being stiff as a board. His face was bright red, resembling a tomato. Leaning forward on his seat, his chin rests on top of the table with a flustered expression on his face. I'm so sorry. I forgot I was sitting on you. Oh my god, I was sitting on him. This sudden realization hits you, and you quickly want to bury yourself in the ground. The student before you remains silent, his face still burning red, and his eyes wide as plates. He shakily grabs his book, and quickly stands up from the seat. Without sparing you any time, nor breath, he walks out towards the exit, with a bit of a limp on his steps. You feel like ripping your hair out. You did all of that embarrassing shit for some guy who refuses to give you your seat in the library. You could have gone to a different spot without having to do all that. Well, there is no point in dwelling on it any more than necessary. Returning to your papers, you stack them up along with the books you've borrowed. Glancing at the poem one last time, you couldn't help the smile that made its way to your lips. At least he gave me some useful insight on my paper. I should thank him once I see him. And I never got to know his name. You're so bad at interacting with people. Alright. Okay, now we're gonna run to Soul in the classroom. The very same tuft of black hair with green highlights sat at the back, and instead of his red novel that you've come to associate him with, he is now scribbling with a sketchpad. He didn't seem to notice your arrival. How come you've never seen him in class before? Is it because he's seated all the way at the back of the classroom? If that's the case, then he must have been really quiet, and you probably never got the time to notice him come and go. How odd, you thought. You make your way to your seat, not breaking your gaze at the tall, dark male. Once you reached your seat, you couldn't help your growing curiosity at whatever he was doing with his sketchpad. Coincidentally, the desk right in front of him was unoccupied. Maybe you could sit there instead. Settling with that idea, you moved to the desk in front of him and placed your things down. He remains unaware of your presence. You sit on the chair facing the opposite direction as you casually placed your arms on the backrest. You observe the way he draws with his pencil. Each stroke he creates moves with so much elegance that you thought he was dancing with it. A face of a person dressed in peasant clothes. They seemed to be dancing, while a being larger in size was right next to them. You lean in closer, attempting to see what he's trying to draw, but was left startled when the book suddenly slammed closed, causing you to jerk back. You tilt your head up, and you meet your eyes with the very same wide reddish eyes of the body back in the library. You give him an awkward smile and a peace sign. He kept staring at you. Hey there, sorry for what happened back in the library. You're my classmates. That's a surprise. Hope we'll get along. Okay. Being caught in the act wasn't part of your plan. Quickly swerving around, you are now properly facing forward, ignoring the burning stare of the male behind your head. You make your way to your seat. Alright, let's move on here. Whoa, we're both at -2? What have I been doing? Huh. Alright, we're gonna give the right answer this time and see how he responds. You feel a pat on your head, making you tilt your neck to his direction as you try to face him. There on his face is a calm smile directed at you as if he's saying, "Good job. You're a smart cookie." A smug smile made its way to your face, chin up and eyes closed. But of course. What? You said you give up anyway? Okay. Okay, so now we're going to... Looks like we're teasing Soul. You decline his offer of the utensils. He raises a brow in confusion. You don't want the fork. Or do you prefer the spoon? I have chopsticks if you want. No, nothing of the sort. Then what is it? I want you to feed me. Soul's breath hitched. His face went bright red at your wild suggestion. Hugo gives you both a side-eye. Your proclamation was enough for him to actually stop eating, shooting you both a judgmental look as if saying, "Really? Right in front of my bento box?" He scoots a bit away from the two of you, not wanting to be part of your little fiasco as he returns to his meal. Soul, however, was nervous for a bit, his eyes still transfixed on yours, still couldn't believe what you asked from him. Are you just going to keep staring at him or what? Shut up. I'll feed him. Soul takes the spoon in his hand, a little bit too harshly, and scoops out some rice and a piece of the sausage, his whole face turning red to the point it reaches to the tip of his ears. With a shaky hand, he lifts the spoon for you to take. You took a bite and chewed. Holy moly. Alright, so we're saying we have our own lunch here. Oh, that's good. Well, you go join those two goons and wait for us, alright? Brittany gives you a nod and waves you off. Turning on her heel, she quickly makes her way to the line with Jess following behind her. You want me to get you anything, Lion? No, it's fine. You won't get anything for yourself if you keep idling by. Crow's shoulders shook at your statement, letting out a soft and hearty chuckle as a smile made its way on his handsome features. He turns around, giving you a wave, then follows behind the two girls, hoping to make it to the line with them. As for you, you made your way to where Gio and Daryl were. It seems that they have managed to find a vacant spot, as you saw them currently seated on a round table, merely cleaning up after the group of students who previously occupied the space. Once seated, the two boys took out what seemed to be their individual packed lunches. Before Gio is a very intricate bento box. The contents inside looks as expensive as its container, whereas Daryl only has 3 sandwiches he took out from his paper bag. Your food always looks so good, Gio. I bet they taste just as good too. Mind if I take one? No. Gio said with a flat tone, slapping the jock's hand away from his bento box. Daryl pouted, rubbing his hand before returning with his own sandwich. As you sat down across the two boys, Gio kept his eyes on you for quite a while, his gaze unwavering as he chewed on his lunch. What's up with this guy sizing you up? You and Gio stared at each other for a good and uncomfortable minute. Just as you were about to open your mouth to ask what this guy's deal is, Daryl's eyes went wide as he finally took notice of your presence in the table. Oh, right. Lion, correct? What did you bring for lunch? I mean, if you don't mind sharing, that is. Sharing what food I have or sharing the food itself? Why not both? As long as you're willing to share. Unlike this guy over here. Gio only rolled his eyes when the jock nudged his shoulder. Don't bother with Daryl. He'll take your food even if you don't give him any. Hey, now, I'm not that cruel. Say that to Brittany's lunch that you took yesterday. Jess was kind enough to give her lunch to compensate. I was hungry. Not my fault coach had to make me do 3 laps around the field. While the two bicker on like children, you let out a small chuckle, eating the sandwich you took out from your own container. Maybe these guys aren't so bad as you thought they might be. Then, at the corner of your eye, you notice Brittany's familiar wavy blonde hair making her way to your table. In tow is none other than Jess and Crow, each with their own trays of food. Alright, now the food fight's gonna happen. Alright, so this time we called Soul and Hugo over, and now we're gonna hang out with them. I mean, sure. Oh, but I need to tell the others first, if that's okay. Sure thing, take your time. Thanking and excusing yourself from the duo, you turn to the group, specifically to Crow. Nervousness suddenly engulfed you as you tapped the blue-eyed male on the shoulder. Crow tilted his head and turned his full attention to you. Is it alright for me to come with them for today? I'm fine with it, Lion. Oh. He paused, as if suddenly remembering something. But you have to ask Brittany for that as well. Upon hearing her name, Brittany turned her head towards you. You noticed a basket around one of her arms. Brittany, however, didn't give you a chance to ask. You can go ahead, Lion. You can join us whenever you want to. She gives you a smile, surprising you a bit. Without further ado, you excuse yourself from the group before going with Soul and Hugo. Hugo gives you a smile. You turn to Soul. He gives you a smile of his own, his shoulders relaxed as if relieved. Let's go then. Okay, now we're back on the rooftop. Found some new dialogue. Let's see. Soul then went quiet, his gaze lost in thought. This caught your attention, tilting your head to the side as you called out his name. Soul? You okay there? What? Oh, I'm fine, Lion. Perfectly fine. But there was hesitation in his voice. Like him. You said something, Soul? He clears his throat, his back straightens and his eyes closed. That person. The one with braids. Person? Does he mean Crow? You mean Crow? For a split second, his gaze darkens. Yeah, him. Can I ask you something? This confused you a bit. What made him interested all of a sudden? And towards Crow nonetheless. Maybe he would like to know more about him. Crow is known to be very friendly. Sure, what is it that you'd like to ask me? Do you like him? Your heart drops, and you nearly choked on your own spit. We'll save here, because I'm sure these choices matter. No. Cough? What makes you say that? You nervously laugh. Nothing of the sort. Hesitance lingered within his orange orbs, unsure if whether to believe you or not. Waiting to change the subject before he gets any more suspicious, you blurt out the same question he threw at you. How about you, Soul? Surely there is someone you like? He smirks. The very same grin he makes when he teases makes its way up to his ever-handsome face. Why? You interested? As if. A wild blush erupts from your face as you try to diffuse this topic. Soul chuckles from the way you stammer and fidget, his gaze softening. So cute. Okay, this time we'll say maybe. Maybe. But I doubt he likes me back that way. He just sees me as a friend. You let out an awkward chuckle, somehow realizing that made your heart ache a bit. You know that Crow likes you as a friend. That you are certain for sure is true. But does he like you the same way you like him? Would you risk whatever you have right now with Crow for something as selfish as him liking you back? You're in a daze. But when you turn your head back to Soul, your brows raise in mild surprise. His expression is dark, his eyes brighter than before. He says nothing as he stares at the ground below him. His grip on the bento box is tight, the tips of his fingers going pale from the immense pressure he's applying on the plastic container. Is that so? How about you? Do you like someone? You quickly change the topic, throwing him the same question. His grip on the box loosens, the darkness in his eyes gone, as if extinguishing the fire. He pauses, his breathing a bit slow before answering. What would you do if I said yes? Huh? Oh, now that's a spicy confession. So, have you confessed to them yet? I want to. But... He sighs, then lets out a small laugh. I still have things to do before I do. And he leaves you at that. Alright, so this time we will find somewhere else to sit. You don't want to deal with this stranger or anyone at all in this very moment, even if you want your seat back. Looking around, you made up your mind to settle somewhere else, preferably far from the presence of others. To your utter demise, the only vacant seat left was next to a table full of loudly gossiping students. You swear, out of all the places to do their idle and loud chatter, it had to be in the library. You don't feel like doing your research paper anymore. Heading to the fiction section of the library, you examined each book's spine, running your fingers along them and hoping that one would attract your attention. However, not a single one caught your eye among the many books you've passed by. Instead, you've only gathered dust on your fingertips. You clicked your tongue and rubbed your fingers together, dusting them off. Huh? A sudden thud came from the opposite side of the shelf before you, causing it to wobble a bit, nearly knocking a few books down. Another thump, but this one is louder and stronger than the last. A few books toppled over next to you, and one nearly hit your head. Hey, watch it! You raised your voice. Silence. Then you hear a few shuffling noises beyond the shelf in front of you. You let out an irritated puff. Taking the few books that fell to the ground, you proceeded to place them back to their original positions on the shelves. But as you were filling up the gaps, something, or rather, someone, caught your attention. Through a small crack between the books, you spotted a male student with hair dyed in red and spiked up hair, donned with a leather jacket and ripped jeans, his facial piercings enhancing his intimidating look. Behind him stood another guy dressed in near similar fashion. The only difference is his hair black as the night with blue highlights, a white tank top instead of a leather jacket, and a dog tag dangling from his neck. The two unfamiliar students sneered down on someone who you assumed they pushed to the ground. So that's where the thudding sounds came from. Don't make too much noise there, Mr. Creep McGee. You don't want us to get in trouble, do you? Great, another bullying situation. You rolled your eyes in annoyance. These bullies never know when to stop, do they? Sometimes people never seem to grow out of their high school phase. The poor fellow remained sitting up on the ground, his back leaning against the bookshelf, trying desperately to hold his ground. He mutters something under his breath. What was that? I couldn't quite hear you. The red-haired bully mocked. His hand brushed behind his ear as he leans closer to the man on the ground, while his raven-haired companion laughs at his friend's antics. I said, fuck off. Why, you little... You cringed at the sound of flesh hitting flesh, causing you to pull back. You've got some real nerve coming here and showing your face, punk. No matter. You're nothing but fresh meat. Ew. He looks fucking disgusting. I bet he's liking this. Why wouldn't he, after all? You asked for this, didn't you? Sick freak. This is getting bad. I should leave or else I'll be next. You gritted your teeth, eyes squinted. You don't want to look at this anymore. But before you could shove a book to cover up the remaining gap, something glistening caught your eye. Your blood ran cold at the weapon, now within the fiery redhead's hand. Yo, How did you get that in the campus? Shut up, who cares? It was a pocket knife. Let's see if you'll continue being a smartass once I cut your mouth. I've got to do something. But should I risk being caught in between all of that? We'll go ahead and save here. Let's stop them. I've got to stop them. Leaving the remaining books, you quickly rushed out from your aisle and went across where the bullies were. Stop! You let out a loud cry. From the cry of your voice, the bullies halt in their movement. Their head slowly turns to you. Your attention, however, was on the fallen male on the ground, his face battered and bruised as he struggles to keep his composure. He looks up at you, and your eyes meet with reddish-orange ones. As soon as he registered who you are, however, his expression turned from mild irritation to shock. He shuffles on the ground in a hurry as he tries to get up, but the raven-haired bully must have noticed this and kicked his stomach, causing him to double over and clench his abdomen. Tisk, what do you want, Pipsqueak? Can't you see we're busy here? The tall, red-haired bully clicks his tongue. You can see his veins bulging from his forehead in irritation from your interruption. Standing up, he walks to where you are, pocket knife still in his hand. Stop what you're doing right now. Oh yeah? And what are you gonna do about it? If you hurt him, I'll scream and alert everyone in the library. The redhead just let out a mocking laugh, unfazed by your threat. He looms over you, his attention now focused on you, leaving the other male on the ground. Stop. Don't go anywhere near him. You're here for me, right? Just leave him alone. Shut the fuck up. Ugh. The raven-haired landed one more kick on the student in green's stomach. Taking advantage of his weak state, the bully clad in blue steps on the boy on the ground's back. Stop that! Whoa, whoa. Hold it right there, sweetheart. We're not done here. The bully in red before you suddenly wraps his arm around your lower back, then proceeds to bring his face closer to your own. With his free hand, he forcefully grabs your chin and jerks your head towards his. You hissed from the force he inflicted on your jaw. Let me go, you bastard! You move your face away, his hot breath fanning your cheek as you try your best to pull away from him. The redhead scans your face, a growing sinister smirk forming on his lips. Not gonna lie, you look kind of pretty. No wonder this freak has the hots for you. He turns around to give a quick glance at the person on the ground. He just chuckled at the dark glare given to him. I bet your little boyfriend wouldn't mind a taste. Before you could register what he just said, you felt a stinging sensation across your cheek, following something wet rolled down your cheek. The sensation of the bully's tongue running across your cheek made you shiver in pure disgust. You can feel tears slowly forming in the corners of your eyes. The redhead, however, does not share your sentiments. His eyes roll back in pure ecstasy, a low moan escaping his mouth, making you want to throw up. Taking advantage of his blissful taste, with all your might, you kicked him between his legs. Fuck! Fucking bitch! You pushed him away from you with all your might and gave him one last kick on his back, causing him to fall and land on one of the bookshelves, multiple books falling on him. A thick encyclopedia landed on his head, causing him to pass out. Take that, fucker! However, your little victory was short-lived, as you felt an arm make its way around your throat, proceeding to block your windpipe. You're a naughty one, aren't you? Why don't I teach you a lesson? Let go of me! You clawed the blue bully's arm around you, trying desperately for him to release you as you slowly lose air in your lungs. Your vision was slowly beginning to dark. I can't breathe. Someone, help! Ugh! The arm around your throat loosens. Your dizzy state caused you to lose your balance. You steadied your breathing while rubbing your throat, trying to ease the pain it just went through. The two bullies' bodies are now on the ground, all passed out, and all that's left are a pair of black shoes before you. Looking up, it was the same guy in green. The bruise on his face is still visible. He didn't say anything while handing out his hand. Accepting it, you let out a small thank you as he pulled you up back on your feet. Now that everything seems to settle down, you finally got to look at him closely. He's actually pretty tall, probably around 6 feet tall, his hair deep green nearing black with green streaks pulled in half. His red eyes dart around the area, then back to you, then back on a random corner. An awkward minute passed. We should probably get you to the nurse's off. I'm fine. There's no need. Meanwhile, you should get your cheek bandaged. He lifted his hand, seemingly trying to cup your cheek, but stopped himself midway, quickly tucking it behind his back and walking past you in a hurry. Your eyes trailed after him as he quickly made it to what seems to be your usual spot. After fixing his things, then set off towards the exit, not bothering to glance back one last time. Alright, and now we're going to find him. And never seem to take note of is an understatement. Okay, so we're talking about now how we are just coming across Soul and we've never noticed him before. And never seem to take note of is an understatement, you realized that there were a lot of unfamiliar faces in today's class. You were guessing that they either transferred to this class or just wanted to cut their original classes and would slack off in a different subject. Not that you cared either way, you only have this class due to the fact that it's required for some strange reason. The school's curriculum is weird. While you were scanning around the room, however, you spot a familiar mob of black hair seated at the very end of the classroom. Then your eyes went wide. You swore you met eyes for a split second. Isn't that the same guy back in the library? You thought, seeing the bandage on his face where his bruise was, kind of resembling yours. Your gaze lingered on his form before the door to your classroom lets out a squeak, indicating your professor's arrival, making you leave your thoughts on the man at the back and redirect your focus to the front. I still have questions to ask him later. Okay, now we're gonna get into the whole painting each other thing, and we're talking about our bandages. Oh, but I have this bandage on my face. Wouldn't that hinder the process? You recall the events that happened back at the library. I can simply ignore it, or make something better out of it. Trust the process. Okay, now we're gonna say we're not great at art. I'm not that confident in my art skills yet. Is that okay? I don't want you to do all the work. Everyone starts somewhere. As long as you help me while appreciate the concept of art, you'll do fine. Soul said, relaxing on his seat and taking out his sketchpad and pencil. You sit back and relax as well, tucking a loose strand and fixing your hair as if you're about to take a picture. Soul notices this, and you swear you saw the edges of his lips twitched upward. The sound of pencil against paper filled the classroom, you on your seat as Soul looked up at you and back on the paper from time to time. Whenever he gazes at you, you swear his eyes go half-lidded, as if in a dreamy daze. But you didn't think much about it. Thank you. What was that? Soul stopped his strokes on the paper and finally locked gaze with you. His sketchpad covers half of his face as he speaks. Thank you, Lion. for helping me back in the library. Oh, it's not a problem. You were in quite a pickle and no one bothered to help you out. I don't know what I'd do if I didn't save you there. Well, you saved me the trouble today. After that, Soul said nothing. His gaze remains on yours before continuing on. A small tint of pink appeared on the tip of his ears. Using his sketchpad, he tries to cover his burning face behind the object. Small conversations were made then and there, as he worked with the pencil whilst you kept the air afloat. Sorry I wasn't able to make it in time. You started, and Soul's eyes just widened at you before shaking his head. Don't worry about it. This type of thing is the usual for me. The usual for you? He sighed as if the thought alone is such a huge task on his hands, while he continues on. Every bruise is worth it. Worth it. Soul then mumbled something under his breath, the grip on the pencil tightening in his grip, before sighing and looking up at you. And that was enough to calm him down and continue on with his sketch, leaving you dumbfounded. Before you knew it, class was over. Soul, however, is not done with his portrait of you, as his pencil still makes a few more final touches on his sketchpad. Just a few more touches. There. Can I see? Of course. Soul hands his sketches to you, and you gasp. This looks so good. The details and everything. And he's not even done yet. Soul, this looks amazing. How the fuck did you do this? By your compliment, he just rubbed the back of his neck and shrugged a little embarrassed at your compliments. I'd love to sketch once in a while. I'd often draw random people in parks when I go out. You couldn't help but admire him and his work. Although, I'd like to revise this if given more time. Can I keep this? I mean, right after our professor grades it, of course. Soul places a hand under his chin, thinking about it. Not sure. I think I could do better than that one. But I really like this one. He just chuckled. Alright. You can have it once I'm done and our professor grades it. But in return, I get to keep the portrait you'll make of me, alright? I think that's a fair deal. Soul agreed, and you cheered. You gave back his sketchpad and fixed up your things. Soul packed up as well, as both of you headed out towards the hallway. Alright, so now we're recalling the events of today. You bite the bottom of your lip and recall the events that happened today, formally meeting Crow's group, the events that occurred in the library, and most especially, meeting Soul. Alright, so this time we're gonna just bow out. Fuck that shit, I wanna live today. Forgetting the book, you threw it away, not bothering to put it back in its place as you ran out as fast as you could. You didn't want to be involved in this any longer. Who knows, you might be their next victim if you stay for too long. Something invaded your nose. The smell of iron. You shook your head and quickly ran out. Fuck, you little shit, you'll pay for that. What is all that noise? Just as you left the scene, you hear an all too familiar voice yelping out from where they were, catching the librarian's attention. You simply walked past her and quickly made it back to where your things were. Just as you were preparing to leave, the librarian came out with 3 students following behind her. The librarian's face, all red from anger, drags the 2 bullies with an ear on each of her fingers, while the third person just follows along, clenching his hand close to his chest. 2 of you, to the principal's office, And as for you, Mr. Brugmansia, you stay put as I call for the nurse. The library breaks in low murmurs and whispers. Almost every student's attention was on the three lads. You try your best not to look at them, while quickly zipping your bag closed. Taking your bag, you swiftly made your way towards the exit. But next to the exit stood a tall boy in black, his eyes red and dull with dark eye bags underneath it. You try your best not to stare at the purple bruise on his cheek, but quickly froze in your steps. A sudden lump made its way to your throat upon landing on the hand he was desperately holding in his chest. The blood coating his hand spreads throughout, squeezing the wounded hand in a desperate attempt to stop the bleeding. Then his hot gaze landed on yours, causing you to flinch. His gaze starts to burn right through you. You quickly averted your gaze, shoving past people and towards the exit, not caring about the glares directed at you. Fuck the library. I'll just wait back in the classroom for my next class. You look around the classroom one last time, taking note of a few familiar looks of your classmates and some who you never seemed to take note of before. As you were scanning the classroom, however, you noticed a familiar mob of black hair at the very back of the classroom. His posture, the green highlights, and the way his bandaged hand slightly twitches whenever he flips a page from his sketchbook. Your throat suddenly went dry as you can feel your heart start beating loudly within your chest. He raised his head, and you're met with his piercing reddish orbs, causing you to freeze in your footsteps. It's him, the guy from the library. I didn't know he's in the same class as me. What should I do? I couldn't just leave. Maybe I can ignore him throughout the class. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Averting your gaze from his own orbs, you quickly made your way towards your seat, quite thankful that you're situated farther away from where he is. All I need to do is pretend I didn't see him. It's all right, Lion. It's just another day of class. Maybe he'll forget about you. Without as much sparing him a glance, you quickly took your seat by the window and tried to focus on your professor. All right. Is there any new dialogue here? Alright, so this time we're saying we're pretty great at arts. Really now? I guess I'm lucky to be partnered with a very skillful person. Can I ask a favor, though? You nodded, signaling for him to go on. Just don't stare too much on my face. I get embarrassed, especially with this bruise on my face. Oh, sorry. Don't worry about it. I would love to draw you if it weren't for my only working hands being injured right now. He sighed. You bit your lower lip as you took your sketchpad and pencil, ready to sketch him as he laid back on his chair and relaxed his posture. You can't help but look at the bandage on his face, the purple bruise not fully covering the entire wound. Your eyes then trailed to his wrapped hand, blood seeping out of it. Your stomach doesn't feel good. Actually, you don't feel good at all. And Sol noticed your change in demeanor, and the fact you haven't moved an inch on your sketchpad told him something's wrong. Hey, you okay? If you're worried about my face, don't mind it. It's nothing to be worried about. But Sol remained quiet, not sure what to do. The best thing he did was pulling down his sleeve, trying his best to hide his bandaged hand. There. All better? Lion? You felt fingers underneath your chin. Next thing you know, you're face to face with Sol, his eyes filled with sorrow, and his brows were furrowed in worry. At the sudden intimacy, your heartbeat quickened and you pulled away. Sorry. It's all right. You didn't mean to stare. No, I mean, for leaving you there when you actually needed help. Soul raised a brow as he backed away. You were there? Back in the library. I should have helped you if I knew you were going to get badly injured. I'm such a coward. You gripped the pencil, guilt filling through your bones on what you could have easily avoided and maybe helped out. Hey, it's all right. There was nothing else you could do during that time. Who would bother to help me anyway? Say, why don't you make it up to me by finishing that portrait? Soul tells you with a small smile, trying his best to change the subject and to cheer you up. You said nothing, however, but started slow with the sketch. The guilt is still eating you from the inside. The bell rang. Sadly, you weren't done with his portrait yet, quite not sure of how it turned out. Can I see it? I'm not done yet, though. Is that so? Well, I haven't even gotten started with yours. Can you wait until I finish it? I promise I won't take long. Take as much time as you need, Lion. You and Soul then packed up. You hurriedly shove everything in your bag, wanting to leave the room as soon as possible. You rushed out, catching Soul by surprise. He quickly fixed his things as well and tried to catch up to you in the hallway. You went out as quickly as you could, but Soul was hot on your trail. He eventually caught up to you and grabbed your wrist with his good hand, stopping you in your tracks, eyes still refusing to look at him. Soul sighed and rubbed the back of his head. Hey, you didn't say anything. Soul realized what he did and let go of your wrist, mumbling a soft sorry under his breath and shoving his hand in his pockets as he bit his lower lip. A slight tint of red invading his ears, but still determined to talk to you. We should try to finish our assignment when we can, so I need to have some way to contact you. You turned to look at him and thought about it before pulling out your phone. This is just for the sole purpose of the project. Hey, I'd like for us to be friends. After what you did to him back in the library? The apparent shock on your face was enough for him to know exactly what you were thinking about and tilted his head to the side, his eyes furrowed and a small smile on his face. Stop thinking about what happened in the library. I forgive you. In fact, I wouldn't forgive myself if you were in that position. What was that? I would like for us to be friends, Lion. You just said that. But why? His eyes ever so softened. Why not? A soft smile on his face, trying to calm you down, telling you that everything is all right. The tightness in your chest slowly fades away the more you look at him, reassuring you that you did nothing wrong. Soul hands his phone to you to input your number for him to save in his contacts. After finishing, he saves your number and attempts to send a message. You should smile more. Okay, I'm pretty sure we've got just about everything. Let's see here. All of Soul's CGs, I'm pretty sure I got them all. We are checking live right now. Also, I realized that you can really take any sort of route in day one. If you kiss Crow, you get this awful ending. It doesn't matter what you do prior, I think. As long as you kiss him, it's a wrap. Alright. That is everything. Surprisingly, Soul didn't make me lose my mind this time. But maybe that's because we discovered all the crazy stuff in previous chapters of this playthrough of this version. Man, how many times have I played the kid at the back so far? Well, I hope you all have enjoyed this journey of exploring version 2.3. I think I'm going to call it there, unless there's something I missed and you all really want me to go find it, which if that's the case, let me know in the comments. But, that being said, I will be looking out for the next installment, as I'm sure many of you will be as well. As far as I'm aware, the dev is going to be taking a bit of a break from the Kid at the Back to focus on some other projects. Version 2.3 was a very surprising update for me. It dropped at a time that I was totally unprepared for, and I was pretty busy with real life stuff, and I couldn't get to this as fast as I wanted to. I also did not expect this update to be as big as it was. I didn't think it was going to be effectively a ground up update where the story was so heavily modified because of the new romance route with Crow. The new CGs with, well, some with Soul, obviously, and definitely some with Crow. Because, well, there was a lot of content in this patch, like a lot of content. I think I've probably been playing 2.3, at least between me reading it and talking to all of you, probably near 8 hours at this point. Actually, now that I think about it, isn't there like a section here somewhere where we can go over the glossary? And, yes, character page and history. So I don't know if this was in the original, like the initial demo of the game. Well, we're still in the demo. I don't know if this was in the previous update of this game, but I noticed this. I didn't go through all of these because I figured I'd save it, you know, while I'm recording so I can talk to you all about it. So here's Sullivan, Soul, as many of you know. Let's see, he likes poems and art, makes sense, historic artifacts, spicy food, plushies, horses in particular. Doesn't like house hires. Huh. Doesn't like the ocean and crabs, loud noises and disruption. Okay, I think I can kind of feel the ocean there, but what's wrong with crabs? The classmate you never noticed sitting at the back of the class. Sullivan is not the type to show himself or make himself known, often staying behind in the darkest corners of the school and never uttering a single word. Soul is artistic and a fan of historic events and classic literature. People find him creepy, while some find him weird, but despite all the comments made towards him, you came to get to know about his character, and he turned out to be the sweetest person you've met next to Crow. What the fuck? I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not so sure, but okay. Because of that, you are determined to uncover his character and to what other secrets he is hiding within his heart. And he is more than willing to let you into his life. You know, he's definitely more than willing. Absolutely. Look, I know that Soul has his moments of like sweetness and whatnot. I've seen it. I mean, even with him drawing you and what have you, but he's still Soul. Okay, do I really have to say more at this point? Let's see, relationship chart. Oh, this is what he thinks of everybody. So he thinks Hugo is loud. Crow, it's always him. And that's the other thing, like Crow and Soul definitely have some sort of history. And I assume we're going to find that out in later updates. Alright, Gio, looks like he pretty much only knows what Hugo told him. Daryl, he's also loud. I don't want another version of Hugo. Brittany, bad at expressing her emotions. Maybe we're almost alike. Interesting. And for Jess, she seems like she's going to be blown away by the wind. Ooh, okay. Comments. Ah, okay. So this must be thoughts from the dev. What made you make this character? I wanted to have a stinky and basement dweller yandere OC during 4 in the morning. Basically, I wanted to make a character that's giving boy loser vibes, since half of my characters are either cheerful or supermodels. Oh my god. Oh man. Okay. Look, this is straight from the dev, y'all. I'm not Where did you get their inspiration from? Let's see. It is embarrassing to say that he's my type. I'm fond of characters like Sebastian from Stardew Valley and literally Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto. He's basically my dream guy in the terms of talent, looks, height, and personality, minus the yandere tendencies, of course. Would you get along with the character in real life? I wouldn't. You're an introvert in real life, and he is too. I'd say it would be a 50-50. What will you say to the fans of this character? I hope you all enjoy Soul as a character. There will be more of him in future updates, and he's definitely one of my favorite characters, and I had fun writing him. Look, I like Soul as a character. He's entertaining. He definitely brings value to the overall story, but I'm still going to say that he's nuts. At the end of the day, I still have to say it. All right, who else we got here? So we got, of course, Team Crow. So likes the smell of books. What? Like a new book or just like in general? You just like rainy days. I also don't like rainy days. Uncertainty, yeah, I feel that. Okay, so he's the savior and the prince of your dreams. A well-mannered man from the way that he walks, from the way that he dresses and carries himself. Crow is reliable and an amazing shoulder to lean on. Some would say that he is quite a charmer, with his looks and personality combined. Who wouldn't want him? But despite that, no one seemed to take notice of him, as if they are scared to approach him. Crow has been your best friend since then, and has always been there to take care of you and your needs. But why just yours? Why does he refuse to ask for your help? Would he be the type to let you shoulder his burden? So I also think, like, Crow is definitely hiding something too, and I'm assuming that it's going to be tied into this whole hierarchy thing. It didn't really touch upon this too drastically in previous updates, but in this one, when you end this story with him looking at the phone with his aunt, there's clearly something there, and he's not. He's involved in some deeper, more complex stuff than he's letting on, basically. Soul, he thinks he's a nice guy. That's unfortunate. Hugo. Let's see. Looks like he doesn't really have too much thoughts on Hugo. Gio, pretty strict, but he appreciates it. Thinks Daryl is admirable, absolute sunshine. For Brittany, she knows she's yet to work on her social skills, but I know she's doing her best. And for Jess, he has such positive outlook on people. Crow is like too pure for all this. Alright. At first, I wasn't planning on giving Soul a rival, since my original plan is a very short game, but I wanted some conflict, and wouldn't a rival make things spicier? Well, it's kind of ironic, because remember when I went through the first, day one, it seemed like there was a lot of interest in having Crow as a potential love interest. I don't know if that had any influence on the dev's decision to make Crow romanceable, or if that was always part of the plan. Especially someone who hasn't done anything wrong in their entire life. Like I said, pure soul. So where'd you get the inspiration? During his creation, I was deeply in love with Suguru Geto from Jujutsu Kaisen and Hythlodaeus from Final Fantasy XIV. So I based off his looks from those two characters. It's made visible with his earrings and his hairstyle. I also wanted a princely character in contrast to Soul's dark and mysterious character. So would you get along with this character? I would owe my life to this character if he ever is real. Okay, and there's a lot to, okay, so Crow's an overall good guy. Very, very many green flags. Lots of green flags, unlike this guy. Alright, Hugo. Hugo's a popular one that a lot of people would definitely love to have as a romance path. I can see why. I feel like I would probably go the same route if I could pick between him, Crow, and Soul at this point. I'd probably go for Hugo. But we still have a lot more to unravel here. So he's troublemaker. Let's see. Yeah, all this is very Hugo. Hugo sees Soul as his best buddy. Okay. Geo. What was he gonna say about Geo? Okay. I'm trying to scroll down with this freaking Corsair mouse. Subaru, my sweet younger brother. Well, stepbrother. Ah. He doesn't like it if I call him brother in school or in public. I wonder why. Okay. He likes Daryl, it seems. Brittany, she seems familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Okay, so they have a history. And Jess, she sounds like she's going to jump off the moment I speak like a cat. He finds that cute. Interesting. So Hugo is a character that was made back in 2021. He isn't originally going to be part of the game. Oh, he wasn't going to be part of the game initially. Let's see, cheerful best friend type. Oh, he's going to be the MC's best friend, but looks like he went to the soul path instead. Inspiration, Hinata Shoyo from Haikyuu. Okay. Despite his cheerful character, I wouldn't get along with this person. Probably because he seems to be the two-faced type, and I am not fond of fake personalities. Also adding the fact what he did with MC during their first meeting. In short, I wouldn't be seen 10 feet near this guy. I mean, yeah, a little bit two-facey, maybe, I guess, but I guess I'm also coming from the perspective of if I really got to know Hugo, and, you know, I know of his outward, like, eccentric personality, but also is, like, you know, someone you don't want to fuck with. I do think that my opinion of him is definitely prone to changing, because I feel like we're really just scratching the surface with Hugo, and he's involved probably in this hierarchy thing, and maybe even more deeper than the rest of the cast so far. I feel like he's definitely hiding something pretty dark. That's my suspicion of him right now. So for Geo, okay, yeah, this all sounds very Geo. Formerly ranked as a high class, yep, he got D ranked. He's very broody. Crow's very first friend. Is this the guy that Hugo hangs around? Why does he tend to attract weirdos? First that one possessive freak, now this emo freak. Holy moly. Each spot is a pain in the ass, but he kind of owes him a lot, okay. He thinks Daryl's loud, but he's appreciative. It's appreciated seeing that half of us are all introverts. Okay. Miss Fallen Angel. Oh, how this school system feels. So Brittany, we're probably going to be learning more about Brittany. Like between this thought from Geo and Hugo's thought from Brittany. I think it was Hugo who also said that she's familiar. Something happened to her. I mean, I'm sure there's probably more details we're going to find about the rest of the cast, but Brittany right now is sticking to me. She's sticking out to me right now. We're also probably going to find out why he doesn't like Hugo. I'm sick of looking the way she looks at Brittany. It's fucking obvious from the way her eyes sparkle. I will never forget that feeling of weakness. I'm confused. What is this thought towards Jess? Huh. Wait, Gio's a delinquent? A delinquent pretty boy? Gio does not give me delinquent vibes. So this person, Gio's inspired from Masato Hijirikawa from Utapri. But, okay. So he got violent undertones, and now he looks like Wanderer from Genshin Impact. Okay. Would you get along with this character in real life? No. Well, his personality is quite strict. I guess that's true. Shout out to the Geo simps who, to this day, coping that he is not a love interest. Holy moly. He's going to be one of the few NPCs in video games where you can't date them. Ooh. I didn't even know Gio had a following like that. I mean, I guess he is attractive. That's too bad. Brittany. Okay. Alright, seems she likes Soul. Sees Daryl's little brother, we knew that already. Hugo, she doesn't know Hugo, but Hugo finds her to be familiar. Jess is her... Let's see, Jessie, my sweet Jessie. She was there right next to Crow during my lowest. I owe it to the both of them. Yeah, we're probably going to be finding out a lot about Brittany soon. Or, you know, soon as in future updates. Alright. And Crow and Geo is pretty much expected. The second in the list is Crow's group of friends. The second in the list of Crow's... Let's see. I thought of Brittany when I thought about my friend in Final Fantasy XIV. How she's fond of Gyaru fashion, and I noticed that there's barely any good representation of Gyarus in video games and in visual novels. So here I made Brittany. Okay. Let's see. A little funny fact is that her top is based off of how I felt back when I was in school. I couldn't afford to make a new set of uniform and I used my old one, but it got too tight on me that the buttons were fighting for its life. So for all my big busted girlies out there, the struggle is real. Well then. To my understanding, that struggle is real. I just, I can't relate. Would you get along with this character in real life? I would probably be scared of her at first, but the second you get to know her, she's actually a very fun and kind person. Yeah, she kind of gives off those vibes. Let's see. She's fond of making sandwiches. And the dev hopes that we will all love Brittany as much as the dev... Okay. The film is kind of late, but... Okay, alright. I do like Brittany. I want to see more about Brittany. I'm very curious what her story actually is. Especially going through these profiles. Let's see. Oh, I didn't know that Daryl actually disliked his coach. I mean, there's frustrations, I'm sure, but I didn't know he actually disliked him. Alright. His opinion, Daryl's opinions of everyone else seems to be pretty... Makes sense. Wait, what are you saying about Jess? She reminds me of a lost puppy, all shaking and stuff. Good thing I'm there to protect her. I will protect my friends no matter what. Huh. Alright. My good old putty old pal Subaru. Oh, he'd rather be called Geo since only people in his hometown call him that. Oh, okay. Interesting. I wonder why he wants to go by Geo. I'm sure that will be explained eventually as well. Design is inspired by Alex from Stardew Valley. Okay. Yeah, I think Daryl wouldn't be a bad addition to a real life friend. I think he's fine. It's probably a good positive vibes to keep around. And last but not least, Jessie. Jessie Citrus. I wonder if that's a pun on how orange she is. She likes video games. Erie's her number one idol. Wait, why does she not like deer? What did deer do? Wait a minute. However, she is a whole different person online, having to run one of Titus's top idols, Aries fan pages. She is well respected by the people within her community. She is a creative person and a major geek, often cosplaying in conventions. Like, this is all stuff that you just don't find out directly in the story, at least not yet. So there's these characters are a lot deeper than what we've seen presented so far. And, I mean, I assume we're probably going to be seeing this in the actual story in future updates. Soul looks tall and intimidating, like a second Geo. Don't tell me he's capable of killing. Oh boy. Oh, Jesse. Oh man. Well. Alright, yeah, the rest of these are pretty much what I expected. Let's see. Her design is inspired by me back when I was in high school personality-wise. Kept in the dark and oftentimes known as the anime girl. Unlike me though, Jess isn't that good at drawing, but in writing. Jess represents my shy nature, high trust issues, and the fear of being misjudged, often sticking to one person in a group, and in her case, it's with Brittany. Would you get along in real life? I would come to her first and befriend her, geek to geek contact. We would hit it off pretty easily. One mention of a brain rot and you'll have a whole conversation running. Jess is a fun and cheerful person once she breaks away from her shell and knows that she won't be judged and mistreated. To people who relate to Jess, I feel you all, but thank you so much for loving Jess. She doesn't have much to offer as of the moment, just like Daryl and Brittany, but her role as a part of the game is very relevant to each character's development, and I hope you all get to enjoy her now and in future updates. Alright, well that was some good information that we learned about the characters just now. I know I didn't read through every little detail there, so I mean, if you would like to go read it yourselves, you can definitely download the game or just pause my video and read it yourselves. But I still wanted to at least look into those character backgrounds because I thought that there would be some information on the characters in this game that we may have missed or maybe wasn't initially represented in the story so far. And I believe that there were some details back there that we found out that have not been displayed in the story up until this point. So, we'll probably see them tapped into in future installments of this game. But, So far, I am liking what I'm seeing, of course, and I will be keeping my eye open for the next updates. Thank you all for joining me in this journey so far. I'm sure that we will have further adventures with the kid at the back as soon as the dev is ready to release the next updates. Well, if you did like this video, leave it a like, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all in the next video. So have a good night.